Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Stripped Down, episode 183 of the Arkham Knight Media Podcast. As per usual, I am your host, Kris Lipscomb, and I was given a cursed cheese board today. The curse seems to be real. Joining me today is the editor-in-chief of TheSixthAxis.com, and a guy I've podcasted with way too much over the last fortnight, Teflon. Say hi, Tef.
Hello. I just want to clear up one thing. I am fully clothed.
You are?
I'm not stripped down. I've not stripped off.
No, it's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
Fully clothed. I just wanted to get rid of that potential mental image for you guys.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Okay.
So in the process of recording this podcast this week, I have had a future guest reschedule their appearance for another episode. Then Tef came and filled in very graciously. Then Lewis messaged me today saying that his back was hurting, so he didn't want to sit in a chair for 2 hours, which I thought was quite reasonable. And then about 45 minutes ago, something like that,
Lewis could just get a really long USB cable and just lie there with the microphone in his hand, on the floor or
that would be
whatever,
amazing.
And then just whenever he wants to, just pick it up and go.
Lewis's Love Shack. So then Kev texted me, and Kev was like, "Now my computer's fucked." And so luckily, Tough Cub stepped in at the very last minute and said he could do it. And then his computer got fucked. So I think the cheese board I was given today, which I was told is cursed, is in fact cursed.
Especially because now you've got to do another podcast with me.
Oh, God, it's you forever. Jeez. This is just you. It's you. It
is me, yeah.
You're just trying to get me on my own again.
Mm.
You just enjoyed yourself too much over E3. Right, let's go. Let's do the news.
Yep, cool.
The biggest news I think this week, which is spilling out of E3. We're not going to talk about E3 because we did too much of that. Sort of spilling out of E3 was the thing with the Taken King and the pricing of it, and it's all insane. And then the guy gave an interview to Eurogamer where he seemed like a massive dick. So, Tef, you understand this story. Take us through it. Take us through it from the Eurogamer interview forwards.
Yeah, so Tom Phillips, who writes for Eurogamer and is a lovely man that I have met on a couple of occasions, he sat down with an interview with, is it Luke Smith? I think it's Luke Smith.
I think it was Luke Smith, yeah.
Yeah.
That name sounds right.
Yeah. And he is creative director or creative lead on the Taken King expansion pack.
Yes.
And in the process of this, Tom Phillips basically sat down, and the only two real things on his agenda seem to be, why are you holding back exclusive, cosmetic content, but still exclusive? Why are you holding this back for editions where you have to buy the original game and the 2 expansion packs that have already been come out? So all of the people that have already got the original game, these 2 expansion packs, don't want to buy this, but the only way for them to get this cosmetic stuff so they can show off and have different dance routines in the game.
People seem very keen on dancing.
Yeah. Well, it's because dancing is basically just what you do in Destiny whenever there's nothing going on.
Okay.
That's it. It's basically, if you want to show something's happening, you can point, you can wave, dance, or you can just sit down. Those are the 4 things in the D-pad.
I like a good sit down. It's
quite nice. You get to sit down. All the characters have got different sit downs as well.
Oh, that's perfect.
Depending on their race.
Perfect.
Which is great, yeah. And yeah, basically, Luke Smith didn't really have an answer to this, but he kind of came across and he was just like, well, I can kind of see where that's coming from. Then Phillips wanted to move on. He wanted to ask, now let's talk about the price. Basically, I think he said something like, one last question about the price, and then Luke Smith said, "Are you sure you don't want to talk about the emotes again?" And then he sort of prodded him and he nudged him and he said something really stupid along the lines of, "If I loaded up the game now and I showed you these emotes, you would just throw money at the screen."
Yeah,
and that has angered people because it basically just says to them, to the people in the community playing Destiny day in, day out each week, and there's something ludicrous, a lot of people still put in it's either an hour and a half or 3 hours a day.
There's people putting
Destiny.
in a lot of time still.
Yeah. And for them to basically hear that one of the developers thinks that basically he can get them to just give them money for effectively nothing. That kind of is just exploitative almost. It's like they're in this position where they have the content, and it's like, you will pay whatever we want you to pay. It doesn't really matter what it is. And this also adds on to the fact that a lot of people complained about the amount of content in Destiny, the amount of repetition. The same goes for the 2 expansion packs as well. That there isn't, there's no 6-man raid in the House of Rules expansion pack.
Oh, isn't there? That kind of sucks.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was disappointing. Like, what they've put in there instead is pretty good. But it doesn't quite match up to the challenge and the inventiveness of the raids, which I really enjoyed. And yeah, there will be a raid in the Taken King. It then goes on to the point, eventually, after Luke Smith has said this incredibly incendiary comment, it goes on to the point that...
well, and it also just said it in like the most dickish way possible as well.
Yeah, but okay, the thing is, like, I can see what's going on in this interview because I have sat down and done so many of these interviews. Like, I know it's unless it is was it Rock Paper Shotgun?
Yeah.
Talking to Peter Molyneux and opening with the line, "You're a pathological liar." It's not going to be that kind of interview where you have Paxman just shouting at him, "Why aren't you giving us these emotes for free?"
Yeah.
It's not that kind of interview. It's always going to be relatively convivial, so it might be a couple of tough questions.
Yeah.
But there's always lighter stuff. Like, it's not antagonistic.
No, and I also think, like, Tom Phillips asks the questions in a very, like, in a sane way. He does. Yeah. The questions he's asking are not unreasonable under any standards at all.
No,
they're like what people want to know about this. And they are perhaps slightly antagonistic questions, like, because they're just slightly sensitive topics, because pricing is always a slightly sensitive topic. But he doesn't ask them in a way that is to deliberately wind Luke Smith up. Luke Smith kind of sets himself on this path.
And the thing is that I feel that Luke Smith was just, like, basically trying to make a bit of a joke.
Yeah.
Like, that was a big topic, and then he could tell that it was, like, rolling into something very similar, and so it's sort of like, you know, I can tell that you want these emotes, and I can tell that's a bit of a sore issue, but, like, blah, 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 you'll throw money at a screen or something. And it's just, basically, it was just a stupid thing to say.
Yeah, but the other thing I kind of think from this interview is, I don't think Luke Smith agreed with the pricing before this interview, because if the to me, and this is because I've not done as many interviews as you, but I've done a fair number, and kind of like when you talk to people, and if they just give you the PR line back, which is basically what is happening until this point where it goes slightly off the rails, but then Luke Smith goes back to the PR line basically. When developers are just giving you the PR line, you kind of feel that they don't necessarily agree with something, but...
Well, it's either that or it's just that they have no control over it.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing, like, Bungie are getting a hell of a lot of stick over this, but Activision...
It's not them, it's Activision.
Well, Bungie will have some say...
Oh, yeah, absolutely, but...
...in this,
Activision would be like, wouldn't it be cool if you charged a load of money for dancing emotes? That'd be cool, right? We'd like money, please.
Well, that is basically what has transpired. So you can get these emotes, you can get them in a physical Legend Collector's Edition where you get like an actual strange coin from the game and a big book and all this nonsense. Or for the same price online, you can get a digital Collector's Edition which doesn't give you any of the physical stuff, but doesn't give you any extra digital content.
So why would you buy that?
Well, yeah, but, you know, digital, whatever. The pricing on digital content is always horrific. On digital versions of games is always terrible.
Yes.
Basically, Bungie have basically gone into crisis mode, and their first wave of reaction after Deej saying, "Don't worry, we've got something amazing for year one players," which is everyone that's been playing up until the point that Taken King comes out. And it's like the reaction is very disappointing from my point of view. Like, I wrote this up and then I was just like, there's too much of me saying this is stupid in this, and so I cut all of that out in the news story.
To be fair, it is fucking stupid.
It is stupid. And yeah, now you can buy the 3 shaders, the 3 class items, which are just fancy bits of armor, and the 3 dance moves for $20. If you really want to, you can spend $20 on that.
Yeah.
And how is that any kind of recompense or any way of recognizing that people are feeling like angered and annoyed by the way that stuff is being priced?
Yeah.
And the amount of content and the way that you're treating. One thing that I said in the original price is that it's like if you go to your bank and you see on a big billboard it says, oh, you can get 4% interest on your ISA. Oh, sorry, 4%. Am I living in 2005? You never get 4% these days.
Yeah. But you also mentioned ISPs and ISAs in the same sentence. I was like, Tef, you should not be going to your ISP to get savings account. You're doing this wrong. That's what banks are for. I know that we lost faith after the financial crash, but that's
Talk have always been so good to me.
It's like Talk is not the answer. Also, that's a lie. Talk have not been good to anyone.
I've moved on. I've moved on from the Talk. That was bad days. Well, yeah, okay, but it's the only thing that I really wanted to say was if they say this is just for new customers only, and it's like a special deal, it's a good rate or whatever, and they won't give it to you because you're already a customer with them, your only reaction is going to be, well, fuck you.
Yeah,
I'm going somewhere else then.
100%. That's the thing. I think the only thing is it's not like it is with when you've got entertainment. It's not like it is with other forms of business transaction because you can't just go and get Destiny somewhere else. It's not like if I went to Asda...
you can go and play a different shooter.
Oh, sure, but you
can play a different multiplayer, massively multiplayer online game.
But you're not going to get the exact same experience.
No. Okay, yeah, no, you can go to any bank that you want and be treated horribly by them.
Exactly. Like, if I went to Asda and I got crappy customer service, I'm quite free to go to Tesco's and have basically the same experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get any customer service in Asda. Who is going to supermarkets for customer service? But
generally, food is what you want.
I just go there as food. Ideally, I don't interact with anyone because there's self-service tills now. It's perfect. But yeah, it's like, although today I had to buy pillows, get pillows for the till, not easy. For like their self-service ones, difficult. But yeah, so you're free to go to any other supermarket. Like with this, you cannot. Like you say, you can go and play another shooter, but it's not going to be Destiny. And also, MMOs have something that most other games don't have, which is lock-in.
Yeah, and like that's kind of why that I feel that like the bank or the ISP or mobile or whatever, I feel because they do have lock-in.
Yeah,
like they've got contract lengths and all this stuff, and so it's in their interest to keep you around. It's in Bungie's interest to keep you around. It's maybe not necessarily in Guerrilla Games' interest to keep you around playing Killzone Shadowfall after like the first 6 months because they're moving on to the next game. But here, Bungie and Destiny and Activision need to keep you coming back and need to keep you buying these expansion packs. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would say with the overall pricing is some people, including myself, actually, I do think £40 for the Taken King. So that's how much it is just to get the Taken King by itself, right? It's £40. I think that's too much. But on the other hand, assuming it, like, if it had more content in it, which it doesn't seem to have a huge amount of content, right? Like, if it had more content, I'd be like, oh, that's cool, because they can't really come out and announce Destiny 2. Like, that's not how MMOs work.
Well, they will eventually announce a Destiny 2.
Yeah, but they don't. But you don't announce Destiny 2 the next year. But Activision want money again the next year because this is their new cash cow. Because Call of Duty is not sliding off as quick as people thought it would be, but it is sliding off. And Destiny is their new. That's their new hotness, and that's where they're getting the money from. And so they need to have something.
You forget Skylanders.
Year on year. And Skylanders, but it's a different market. Like. Skylanders is not replacing Call of Duty. The people who were playing Call of Duty are not transitioning into the Skylanders world. That would be fucking weird. But
it'd be brilliant. It'd be fantastic.
If they brought out Call of Duty Skylanders, I would be all over that.
Can you imagine that?
That'll be perfect.
They're already doing the Bowser and the Donkey Kong
I know, right?
versions.
Anyway, Tough
you
Cup's here
mentioned,
now. Tough Cup's
but
here.
just
Hi, Tough Cup.
Hello.
Last final point is that you mentioned £40,
Yes.
and it's only that point in the UK. It's €40 or it's $40.
So we are getting ripped off, but
We are getting very ripped off.
But also,
and
that's not like an Activision specific issue. Although it's not great, you kind of
no, it's very much a Destiny specific issue, because if you look at a season pass for Call of Duty, then it's say $40, €40, £35.
That's interesting.
So there is that drop.
That's interesting. Because I was going to say, but you to an extent, you expect technology companies to do that to you. You don't like it, but like Apple do it to fucking everyone, basically.
Yeah, you have to accept that they have to build in a buffer so that they don't lose money in other territories, and there's VAT to take into account and stuff like that.
And it should be cheaper, but I to an extent accept that element of it, because we've almost become desensitized to it at this point.
Yeah. And the other thing is that paying £40 for the base game in the UK, like we are getting away with buying games well under recommended retail price.
Yeah, I mean,
which you don't get in
it swings
America,
the other way. Yeah. Like games are meant to be 55, £60 now.
I think some of them are 55.
Yeah,
most of them are 55.
And almost everywhere you can get stuff. Even if maybe not at launch, shortly after launch, it'll be at about £40.
Batman was an HMV I spotted this morning at £49.99.
Jesus,
you get free Batman Blu-ray.
That's not. £49.99. Yeah. That's not free.
This is the PC version.
But I think I picked up and it was only like £36 ish from Zavvi. So
Batman Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
That's a very good price. At launch, that's an incredibly good price.
Yeah, that's why I actually pre-ordered it, because I was like, I'll pre-order it if I can find it somewhere cheaper than £40. And actually, a bunch of places had it cheaper than £40. And I wish I'd ordered it from Amazon, because I would have been able to play it before today if I'd ordered it from Amazon, because Zavvi fucked up. Anyway, speaking of Batman Arkham Knight, it's fucked on PC to the extent that it has been withdrawn from sale on Steam.
It's just, God.
Yeah.
Rocksteady are never going to outsource the PC version of a game ever again, or at least not to do it.
But was it their decision, or was it Warner's decision?
Rocksteady will have probably, I guess, have said, can we have help on this on the PC version? Yeah,
either that or like, I imagine Rocksteady would have been like, look, we want to release it on PC. It's going to cost us X to tool up to do it. And Warner were like, no, look, it's only this. We just send it to Iron Galaxy. It'll be fine. And then it wasn't fine.
Didn't Rocksteady do the last two PC versions?
I'm not sure, possibly.
Maybe.
But I know that this was Iron Galaxy, who probably the most notable thing they've worked on. There were two most: the Dive Kick and the Season 2 content for Killer Instinct on Xbox One. The two most notable things, I think.
You do have to wonder how it got past Rocksteady, though. Surely they must have had.
That's what I'm thinking. Is like, I think maybe it was Warner's decision, and maybe Warner had final sign off as the publishers, but Rocksteady must have like had at least approval on it of just like, no, this is fucked.
I don't know. Are Rocksteady wholly owned, or are they?
They are wholly owned now, but even so, you'd think it. Like, you'd hope they at least complained to Warner, even if Warner overruled them, that they were like, hey, this is just janky as fuck, and it doesn't work on AMD. But yeah, apparently they realised it is completely broken and have withdrawn it from sale. Although I did hear from many people that it was working fine if you had an Nvidia card.
Yeah, it's the AMD cards which seem to be playing up.
Yeah.
I think AMD in particular, but a lot of Nvidia have had issues as well.
But I was talking to one of the guys in my office who's a big PC gamer, and he was saying with the Nvidia GameWorks thing on PC, that's the
worst stuff in the universe.
Yeah, but that's causing a lot of PC games to have not to the same extent, but to have similar kinds of performance issues. Because it's just designed to basically lock AMD out.
Yeah, I mean, for those particular effects, ideally, it would be you just turn those off on AMD, or they're just simply not enabled on AMD.
Yeah, but
and you don't see them; they don't affect your performance.
Yeah.
But it does. You do get the feeling that something is not right whenever NVIDIA Games Works is in there, and you have an AMD card.
Yeah, exactly. But
it's had an interesting little side effect I noticed today. I chucked this in.
this was the MotoGP thing.
Yeah,
yeah,
MotoGP, which isn't even out yet, and they're apologising for bugs in it.
Yeah, and saying did they say they were going to? They were looking to get a big day one patch out for Xbox One.
If they could.
Yeah, if possible, but
yeah, I think they've seen Rocksteady and gone shit.
Yeah, because
have they not seen all of the other catastrophic launches in the last 2 years?
But none of the catastrophic launches have been so bad they've recalled the product.
Yeah, no one else has pulled it from sale. No one else has gone, fuck. And
I mean, Assassin's Creed was completely bollocks, wasn't it? And it was bollocks for about 3 or 4 weeks before they finally got around to fixing it.
Yeah, but that's because Ubisoft just don't give a shit. Ubisoft just genuinely don't seem to care about the quality of their games.
Allegedly.
Yes, allegedly, but the perception does very much seem to be that they release it and they're like, it's probably fine. We didn't QA this.
They're big fans of spreading the workload, so maybe they're spreading the QA workload over to the populace.
Yeah. We've outsourced QA to customers.
I mean, isn't that one of the plot lines in Assassin's Creed?
I think that isn't. Yeah, that might be the plot line to Assassin's Creed 4, right?
I think 4 is something to do with video games.
Yeah, or Unity. I can't remember which one. No, Unity. Yeah, Unity is your. They've not bothered with the kind of meta storyline anymore, and they're like, you're now a gamer playing an Abstergo game. You're like, well, this is
Abstergo can't code to shit.
But you're just like, this seems very lazy, this writing. It doesn't seem like you put a lot of effort into imagining a fantasy world here. Desmond was on his whole let's save the world tear, and you're like, yeah, you're just some guy now playing a game.
I'm pretty sure that Black Flag you were in the Q&A department.
Yeah, Black Flag, you were you worked at Abstergo doing something. But yeah, it was it's a game. This is weird. We've got.
I think Ubisoft had a bit of a problem last year because they had, what was it? It was The Crew the first week, then something else. I can't remember what the other big game was. Far Cry, and then Assassin's Creed. They basically had 3 AAA launches week after week. And so basically all their money was tied up at Christmas, and there was no way they could have delayed something because the shareholders would have gone absolutely nuts. So I think that's
especially after having had to delay Watch Dogs the year before.
Yeah. I think that Ubisoft to get a lot more pressure from their shareholders and financial people than others by the look of it. It seems to be a business decision to release broken games rather than, I think, anything to do with the actual people making the games. I don't think it's their fault.
No, not at all. Right, the last quick thing to touch on this week is the Drive Club PS Plus edition finally launched. And Ivor is...
Twice.
Yeah, twice. Because they launched it once and went, we didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Give us a bit. We'll be back. I promise. We launched it and forgot to turn the servers on. That was literally it. They launched it in the US and then went, sorry, we didn't mean to do it. We have not turned the servers on. Whoops. So that was
did
very
they say that, or did they just say that it wasn't meant to happen? Blah blah.
No,
blah,
they said that they hadn't turned the servers on for it. That was what I'm sure I read that somewhere, presumably on TSA.
Yeah, but they still haven't turned the servers on. It's not online.
I don't know. Does it?
Well, no, they're doing it gradually.
So yeah, does this actually work? Because I haven't heard
single player.
Okay.
I mean, that is the guaranteed baseline. But
I hadn't heard that it was broken, but I wasn't sure if it's that because it wasn't broken, or because Batman had just drowned it out by being much more broken.
That is very much a possibility. Shuhei Yoshida's blog post, which was on the 2PS blogs, he said that everyone would be able to download it, but they were going to like slowly but surely build up the servers because they don't want so basically he's setting a bare minimum of no functionality online, and then it's going to slowly but surely build up to everyone can play online.
Which is ironic considering the whole game is based on driving with your mates.
Yeah. I mean, the other interesting thing, I can't remember who had this interview, but it was basically from E3, talking to Shuhei about what happened with Drive Club, and he said that with Drive Club, they literally went back to the drawing boards and re-architectured their entire servers, all the servers, to be able to handle it. It was literally, they could not handle the load, and they had completely cocked up with figuring that out.
That just amazes me.
Yeah.
Like, how?
Yeah, exactly. On the plus side, hopefully they've learned from this.
You would hope so.
Yeah. I mean, basically the experiences with Drive Club mean that they've put many more checks and balances and like testing procedures and beta testing phases into their general plan for whenever there's a big game that has got online play. And he did then point to Bloodborne, which was actually rather successful and smooth with the online functionality, because whenever you're online, it's always like feeding back and forth from the servers, like with other people's ghosts coming into play and stuff like that.
Yeah. But on the other hand, like, it's not like they had created a game with problems that no one else in the entire video games world had ever experienced before.
I had actually, I'd never actually heard of an online connected racing game.
I know, right? It's just, it's seemingly impossible until Drive Club came out. Let's stick with broken games and move on to what we did. So, Tough Cub, you've been playing Wander. Tell us about Wander. You wrote one of the best, I don't know if it was a review, but you wrote a brilliant piece about it, and with amazing videos in it.
It was deliberately not a review because I didn't feel the product was reviewable.
Or finished.
Or finished. And before we start, I have to say they have done some work.
If they haven't fixed the things that are actually broken. Or they haven't fixed most of the things that are broken.
It was completely broken when I played it. I mean, you saw the video. Things were just popping in and out of the screen all over the shop.
I know, it looked like a lot of fun, to be honest.
Plants, trees, rocks.
Well, unless you have epilepsy.
That's true. You called it foliage disco, didn't you?
Foliage disco, yeah. It's like strobe plants going on and off. And you could walk through walls, and if you swam over to another island, you hit a massive invisible wall, which then threw you right across the other side of the map.
I think that's an invisible catapult, really.
Everything about it is amazing.
The sound, you could be walking by the sea, and you could take a step to your right, and suddenly you go whoosh, and the sea would cut in. And then you could take a step to the left, and it would just completely vanish. It wouldn't fade out, it would just stop dead.
Speaking of sound, didn't you find it has an original soundtrack?
Yes, it has an original soundtrack on their website, even though there's no in-game music. Christ, what else was there? I'm trying to think of all the problems.
Well, I mean, because you've played it. The only reason why you played it was because they put out a patch, and you played it in the last few days.
Yeah, and I've played it in the past few days, and well, they've disabled the first-person mode until they finished it now, so that's good.
Which is amazing that they released it with it in. They were like, "Which release it in? Doesn't work, but whatever."
It should disable foliage, surely, if that doesn't work properly.
What?
There are just no trees now.
It is better. It's still flashing in and out. It is, but it is better. It's noticeably less. And I did go into I found a big cave, which you go through, and it's all like glowing things, but there's no trees or anything, and it does look really nice there. It's really gorgeous when you haven't got plants flashing in and out. So they've patched some of the graphics. They've patched some of the sound. You don't walk the bit where I walk through a wall. I mean, I showed you on the original thing. There's this massive purple sort of curvy building, and so for when I was playing it the first time, I thought, well, I'll go and have a look at that. Surely, that's a major landmark. It's the only massive building on there. They must have tested that, and I could walk straight through the walls on that. And I went back and tested that, and they fixed that now. The speech system made no sense. There's rocks. Basically, there's an entire language built into the games, and there's rocks. And you walked up to the rock, and then it drew a pattern on the screen, and then it said, "Say," and then it showed touchpad. And I literally spoke into my touchpad.
I remember you
for a couple of times.
It was amazing.
And I was like, it hasn't got a microphone. What the hell? They have fixed that now. You can, when you go on, when you go to a thing, when you draw on the touchpad, you can see what you're drawing on the screen. So you go up to a stone, and it's got like a circle with a line through it. You go to your touchpad, draw a circle through a line it, and you double tap. That's what the touchpad thing meant, and your character speaks.
Oh.
So the idea is, rather than having voice chat, when you meet fellow wanderers, you speak to them using the inbuilt language.
Okay. That's
Which
not a
would be good
terrible. That's not a terrible idea
It's a good idea. It's
if it works.
and if there was someone else playing the game.
Is it
I've
just
met
you?
I've met one person so far, and I've played it for 12 hours now.
I imagine they must be getting so excited when you log in, Tough Cub. Just some guy sitting at an analytics dashboard, like, "Oh, we've got one."
I mean, one of the great things they had was that it occasionally went dark.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole screen. Just
Oh
went
yeah,
dark.
I remember you telling me
And it was
this.
like there's clouds overhead. Obviously that's what it is. Look up, and there is completely blue sky. And I did look at the patch, and it does say clouds enabled now. They're not. There's no clouds.
Just because they're enabled doesn't mean that they're going to be there.
Yeah.
It's like you could theoretically have clouds on a perfectly clear blue sky day.
But
it's just that they're over the horizon. They haven't got to you yet. That's how weather works, Tough Cub.
Why would they be going in front of the sun and making it dark?
Shush.
Apparently there's meant to be a day and night cycle as well, but the sun never moves from directly above your head. But going back, the whole point of the thing, it's kind of like a relaxation sim, and you have 4 forms. There's a fish thing, a griffin, a human, and a tree. Now, you can only transform between your forms when you find a transformation stone, and these are indicated by basically an opera singer. So when you get close, the singing starts, and you're meant to,
But if you take one step to your left, you hear the ocean.
Yeah. But the problem is, it's all the islands they basically go up. They're not flat. They've got a big hill in the middle. So if you hear singing, you can tell on your telly if it's left or right. You can't tell if it's up or down. So you could, you head towards the singing, and then you turn a corner, and there's nothing there, but you can still hear it because it's on the top of the fucking cliff. So you have to backtrack miles around. But I still haven't found one of the stones.
I thought you said you had found one.
No, I found on the original, when you start off, and I should point out you can't restart the game, so there's no way of backtracking. You start off as a tree, and you can walk as a tree, and then you find the stone to turn into a human, which I've done. And I found another stone which turned me into a human. That's it. I haven't unlocked the other things. Now,
Can you find that as a human, though?
Yes, you just go up to it and nothing happens. It would be handy if there was a map, and there is a map. Except for the map doesn't tell you where you are.
Yep.
And you can see the entire play area, and there's like little red flowers and little blue flowers on the map. There's maybe like 4 on an island. But there's no legend. There's nothing to tell you what the little flowers mean. I mean, they could be transformation stones, they could be other players. I have absolutely no idea.
They could actually just be little flowers.
The other good thing about the map is you can place markers on the map, right?
Okay,
So
a lot of games have that system.
Yeah, okay, but you place a marker on the map, and then you go back to the game, and there's no display to tell you which direction your marker's in.
That's brilliant. Love that.
And as
It's
I said,
a very literal interpretation of a map, to be fair.
as you aren't displayed on the map, I mean, 99% of the time, I have no
genius.
idea what, because it's just all the islands are pretty much big rainforests, and it's like, well, I have no idea which island I'm on, which rainforest am I on?
What way is north?
Yeah, there's not even a compass. The only way you can basically navigate is look along the horizon and find one island has like a big floating island above it. It's like a anime thing. It's like floating in the sky. So you have to try and locate that and say, okay, that's on my right, so I must be on this island roughly around here. But there's
it's amazing. It's everything about this is brilliant.
Now the thing is, since it's been patched, the other thing. Sorry, going back. The original game, you couldn't run for more than about 10 seconds before you ran out of breath. And I mean,
yes,
literally, but it isn't. You run for 10 seconds and you stop and have a little breather, and then you can run for another 10 seconds. You had to run for 10 seconds and then you stopped, and then you try and run, and then you stop straight away, and then you stop straight away. You just completely ran out of stamina, and all you could do was walk. And bearing in mind, I mean, it's a really big play area. I mean, you just But they fixed that in the patch. You can now run all the time without running out of breath.
Yeah, they just turn the stamina off.
Yeah. I
always thought that, like, during your lifespan as a human being, you had a finite amount of stamina. I thought that was how it worked.
Yeah, but it doesn't run out after about 10 seconds.
I still think my favourite thing you told me is the trophy you unlocked was amazing.
Playing yesterday, and I got a silver trophy for flying to another island without landing, and I had swam the entire way.
It's just that amazed me. I also find it weird that one of the things you can turn into is a tree.
Yeah, and
who wants to turn into a tree?
And it's the first thing you start off with.
It's just trees are not known for being thrilling gameplay wise.
Or walking places.
Or walking places. So surprisingly, the tree is the slowest character, and it starts you off as a tree. And you're like, well, I want to play the game. I don't want to spend 20 minutes walking up this bloody flight of stairs as a tree.
Yeah. It's just... It's like it didn't playtest it. It's like no one playtested this game.
Well, the team behind it is basically... They've got two programmers, or did have two programmers. They've got one programmer now. And they said for whatever reason they had to get it out before E3. Now, obviously that was a massive mistake, and they're paying for it now. And they are working on some of the problems. I was a bit miffed now. I looked on their website, and they've got a roadmap now for features we'd like to add in the next 7 days. And I'm just out there thinking, no, don't add features. Fix the bloody game.
Fix the features that are currently in there first.
Do you know what? Although you are just running around a tropical rainforest, it is kind of relaxing. It's kind of... I can see what they're going for. And if it didn't have all these glitches and all this nastiness, and there was a couple of other people running around, it'll be really quite nice. It's just a nice,
I mean, like
relaxing.
The concept sounds pleasant. Like,
it's like Flower. You just whoosh around, and there's no objectives. There's nothing else to do. All you do is just wander about and see what's around the corner. Normally, it's another tree, but there's temples and caves to find, and you can swim underwater. Through their immaculately presented seabed, which is normally just completely empty, even though the loading images shows whales and fish and things spinning around. There's no other animal plant life either. You walk into the rainforest and you can hear monkeys screeching and birds chirping. There's nothing there, which is a shame. It's kind of like, okay, I can see what you were going for, but you haven't achieved it, and it shouldn't be out. And I do feel horrible to say it was the worst game on PS4, but it was. It was so broken.
It's not even a contest. Like,
well, I don't know, Batman.
Actually, on PS4, it's actually
PS4. Yeah,
that's
absolutely
true,
like rock solid as far as I'm aware.
It's just fucked on PC.
Literally just the PC version.
I mean, it may have some gameplay issues by the sound of it, but it's not actually broken.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel sorry for them, and I don't know why they released it in the state they did. And they have been.
It
very
feels like they had
apologetic.
investors or something who were just like,
Well, no, it's only like a 4-man team. So,
it just the fact that they were like, we had to get out by E3 feels like it was like on a roadmap for investors or something to do with like paying back loans or something along those lines. Like it just sounds like there's when you've got that kind of hard deadline, it's normally financial.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, the annoying thing is, of course, it's come out on PC as well, and PC owners have also ripped into it, and they're patching the PC version like mad. But nothing.
It's a lot easier to get a patch out for a PC game, though.
It is.
Yes, I agree.
You've patched it, you upload it, and like on PS4, there must be some way where you can rush a patch through, just like you can on like iPhone.
Yep, you get to expedite 3 things a year on iPhone.
Yeah, and there must be a system where Sony will like help you out, but there's also the fact that the matter of cost, because it always costs.
Yeah.
To have your patches done, that was a sticking point for a couple of games last generation as well.
Yeah,
so
I've got the roadmap up now. So they're currently working on a clearer intro tutorial. Good. Rain and storms in the weather system. Well, there isn't a weather system. It sounds like a storm's going on now and again. The wind gets up. You can hear all the whooshing noises, but none of the trees move.
No, it's going to be like thunder and lightning, but then you look up and there's no clouds.
See floating island reservations, dive and first turn for griffins, orbit cams, better swimming controls, reset from the start button in the menu, good, Firefly fixes, trophy fixes, nothing about fixing the engine or putting in a decent map or anything like that. And then they've got later on, nice to have Morpheus VR support. Like, what? No.
So you can have a seizure in for all of the strobing foliage in virtual reality.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I think it could be brilliant, but not now. Just not now. And it's really sad because I as I said, it was kind of like, I'm really quite enjoying this now. If I can ignore the flashing plants.
Tef, tell us about Steins, which I understand is an anime based on a cartoon. An anime based on a game.
It's an anime based on a cartoon. It's sort of like that's the same
itself.
thing. That is it itself.
I don't know if you made like an anime version of Family Guy.
Yeah, but
Anyway.
Yes. Anyway, yeah. Steins Gate. It is the only reason why I started watching it is because Jim did a review of the PS Vita game.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then I think I was just like flicking through Netflix, but just like watch anything, because of 3's wonderful limitless data allowance while I was waiting for a train. Hooray for 3!
Yeah.
And I spotted that it's actually an anime series, and I was just like curious to see what it was, so I just flipped it on, and it's actually a really incredibly well put together and very well thought out time travel story. It is. Oh, it's just so good. So it's basically the plot goes that there's this character Rintaro Okabe who goes by the pseudonym of Hoin Kyoma, and he is a self-proclaimed mad scientist, and is like basically he has this. It's not an apartment. It's just basically got this. Yeah, he's got this flat basically, and he has it as his laboratory where he can do little experiments and come up with like little gadgets and things. They're always called Future Gadget 1 and Future Gadget 2 and so on like that. It's the Future Gadget Laboratory.
Doesn't sound like he's good at naming things.
No, that's a bit of a little running joke. And he, in and of himself, he's like he's obviously the main character, but he's also the one that it took me the longest to warm to.
Oh.
Because he has this sort of like false bluster, and he just like has this occasional maniacal laugh, when he feels like he wants to go into this persona of Hoen Kyoma. And like he'll pull out his phone and start having a fake phone conversation about how the organization is after him and stuff like that.
Well, obviously they are.
Well, they are actually after him eventually because he and his fellow lad mates do in fact manage to manipulate time.
Oh.
By combining a mobile phone with a with a microwave.
That seems improbable.
Yeah, it is very improbable. This was all come up with in like 2010, 2011. Actually, the game first came out on Xbox 360 in Japan, which is unusual to say the least. That was in 2011 and it's since been ported to lots of other platforms, such as PS Vita, where Jim reviewed it on, and where I will likely play it eventually. Because now that I'm about 2/3 of the way through the story, and I'm glad that I've watched the anime first before playing the game, I think. It's just the way that like he doesn't just invent a time machine where he can go back in time and all of this stuff. No, he can send a message back in time.
Okay.
But that sending that message can then cause someone in the past to act differently. Because they've got an email on their phone or a text message or whatever. I think it's generally emails in Japan. And so that also puts a limit on how far back they can manipulate time. But the thing is that there is an organization, and in 2010, there was the impending doom of the world by CERN creating a black hole and sucking us all into the black hole. Wasn't there? If you remember that.
Yeah, I remember
it was
that.
actually 2013, I think, wasn't it? When they fired up
I do remember everyone being, maybe they'll do it, and they'll be like, nah, it's probably fine.
It did turn out to be fine. But the crux of the story is that CERN are actually a relatively evil organization looking to create time machines using the LHC and like creating black holes and stuff like this.
Oh.
In order, and then they go on to create.
I did not expect this to turn into like CERN of dicks.
I know, you never expect that.
It's just an odd turn to take in an anime, to be honest. Yeah, man, fuck science. Who needs that shit?
Pretty much, it's an odd evil. It's an odd organization to depict as fundamentally being evil.
Yeah, there's other. Just go with like the Department of Defense, U.S. Department of Defense. They probably want fucking time machines.
Yeah, but the thing is, the U.S. Department of Defense haven't got a Large Hadron Collider with which to create black holes.
That's what they want you to think.
Time. Yeah, well, maybe they do have rail guns, which are incredibly cool. If you've ever seen those be fired on YouTube videos. So yeah, CERN do actually go on to create a dystopian future, and then just. The whole thing is it's kind of you get to see all of these characters build, and Hoen Kyoma you start to see beneath that arrogant superficial fascia that he hides behind, and like how he starts to interact with all of the because the first like 6 or 7 episodes, he's always adding new peoples to his laboratory and just like coercing them into like being part of his like group of nutters who are like fiddling around with this time machine and sending messages back and forth. But then there is a point where it just completely flips, and like serious time travel manipulation is suddenly possible, and it's. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna spoil it, obviously, but it is incredibly well put together, and it does very, very well deal with the consequences and explore like the hypothetical limitations of what you can do with time travel and how you might go back in time when you've just got a little microwave.
Does sound interesting.
It's very good. I've actually been watching it with Japanese language and English subtitles, but I hear that the dub is actually pretty decent. I always
watch dubs just because I do not pay enough attention to things to watch subtitled stuff. Like I'm inherently very lazy, and paying enough attention to a thing without with subtitles is not going to happen.
Yeah, there are a couple of little annoying things like some of the cultural references. There's a lot of Japanese cultural references, but there's also quite a few which come across from America. So like for some reason he is obsessed with Dr. Pepper. And like,
Okay.
like it's the only thing that he will drink, blah blah blah, and that is how then he finally starts to kind of bond and become friends with sort of. She kind of feels like she's going to be the love interest in the end, but he keeps teasing her because these are all teenagers still. They're all like 17, 18, and they're fiddling around with the time machines. And I think the best explanation that I've seen of it from a review is that it's as if an episode of The Big Bang Theory was taped over Back to the Future or something like that.
Okay.
Because there is just this mash of just like teen culture and Japanese culture and all of this stuff on top of what is a very clever time travel story.
I kind of want to play the game version of this though and see like how time travel plays into it.
Yeah, so the game it's a visual novel, which
that makes more sense.
It's it's a lot of red, or I think that has Japanese dialogue in it, but it's a lot of reading, and then at several points or at a number of points throughout the story, you will get to make different choices and shape the way, because obviously time travel, you have to make different choices so that you can see how things are going to play out, and stuff like that. The thing is that I discovered just in the last couple of days, because I've been looking into it a bit more, they're actually doing a sequel. Hooray! Which I'm really happy about. Very much looking forward to
I
that.
think I'm going to watch that. It sounds really good.
It's good. It's on Netflix.
Fucking weird, but really good.
Yeah, it's on Netflix, and I would definitely give it 4 or 5 episodes. Around about then they start to play around with what these machines can do. I mean, it's only 20 minutes an episode, so it's like the length of a film.
Well, I will probably give it a watch. Right, I promised your favourite person, Tough Cub, Peter Willington. I promised him that I would talk about Game Ground, which
because you love him.
Because I love him. No, also because he actually.
If you love him so much, why don't you marry him?
I would, but he's not gay. To be fair, neither am I. It would be a terrible relationship. But it's also because he gifted me this game on Steam because he demanded that I play it. This is like you're gonna love everything about this, Tough Cub. This is a Master System or Mega Drive game. Mega Drive, I think. Just like re-released as part of those standard Mega Drive collection type things. So it's not a new version of it. It's just a port of the original. The Steam seems to be pretty cool for this though, in that Sega basically released one like Steam game that is a wrapper for everything, and then you just buy DLC for it. So you just buy DLC of the games you want, which seems like a much better way of doing it than being like, here we randomly selected some old games to give you in this collection. So I quite like that as an idea. But anyway, so I have been playing it. It is enjoyable quite a lot. The idea is that you are basically kind of top down, but I don't know what the correct viewpoint description of it. It's like top down, but at a slight angle, so you're not looking
isometric.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of isometric-y, yeah, but not at the kind of, because normally with isometric it's at that offset as well, like The Sims is, where it's not at that; it's kind of straight on.
I remember playing football games on the Game Boy that were like that.
Do you know what I mean? Where like, so
yeah.
it's not at the, because isometric's normally at like the diagonal angle, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this is straight on, but you're kind of tilted, so you're not directly overhead of people. But the basic thing is you've got a set of heroes who each have different like weapons, and those weapons have different abilities. So like one of the guys has quite a long range pistol, but the pistol can only shoot like upwards. Whereas you've got a guy who's got spears, but the spears aren't as long range, but he can shoot in any direction. And because they arc, they'll like go over the top of stuff. So you've kind of got that trade-off, but you can only have one hero out at a time. And in a way, it kind of reminds me of the precursor to MOBAs almost, in that you just have a screen filled with enemies, and you select the person you want to kind of get through it. It's quite tactical in that you can work out which person
It's not a MOBA. That's the Warriors game.
I guess it is, maybe, yeah. But
a MOBA is sort of like you've got a hero.
No, but not. But it kind of feels like a very early precursor to it, type thing. Like it just the kind of fact that you are selecting a hero, and each of the heroes has distinct abilities that help you clear stuff, which is kind of the core. That's kind of like the core bit of a MOBA. If you take out the multiplayer element, like you have heroes, and you use those heroes to clear your lane using your abilities.
It'd just be a bar.
Just a bar. Yeah, just a bar, really.
Oh yeah, because it's not even multiplayer; it's be a bar.
Yeah, just a bar. But it's so you kind of so you get to play through the level of each hero if you want. But there's just an exit at kind of the top of the level that you have to get them to. So in classic like old school game style, which is great though. It's a big box, like yellow box marked exit in yellow writing. So it's very, very obvious. But you can kind of get this kind of set up in such a way that you can get through the level without killing everyone. But if you kill everyone, you get a bonus. And the other thing is sometimes there are people who you can easily avoid who are in fact placed nowhere near the exit. But if you kill them, you can pick up a new hero, and then you have to get that hit. That hero basically follows behind you, and you have to get to the exit with them. The interesting thing though is if you die, the same thing happens to your hero. Your hero becomes like a person that you can collect on the battlefield and get them to the exit, so you can get them back for like the next level, which is quite a nice mechanic. It's kind of very simple in a way because it's like a old game. I think it's Mega Drive. I'm pretty sure, but it's Mega Drive or Master System. Like I said, 16 or 8-bit era, so it's old game. But it is. There's just something about it that it's kind of got that slight tactical element to it that actually makes it really enjoyable. That you've really got to think about who you're selecting, otherwise you're just going to get completely dicked when you try and play through the level because people will just kill you. And it's working out like which of your characters can outrange archers and shit as you play through it. The other thing that is really cool that is a bit weird is your heroes seem to be much more technologically advanced than the people you're combating, because like I have a guy who has a gun, and there's another woman who is awesome, who's like one of the heroes you have to unlock later in the game, but she just basically has a fuck off massive cannon, and so she's really slow moving, but she has it just fires a huge fireball that will basically sweep up almost the height of the entire level, which is just really useful. But the people you're fighting are basically just archers and sword guys, so it's a very weird disparity in levels of technological advancement. But it's also is quite a lot of fun, and it can quickly become overwhelming, but in that kind of good way where you have to kind of puzzle your way through, all right, who can I use in this context to kind of get through this level. The other thing, as always with modern ports of those older games, is it's got a save system which basically makes the game like 100% easier, because you just save at the start level, and if you fuck up, you just go back to the save slot, which obviously you didn't used to be able to do, just because save didn't exist.
That's cheating.
I know, but it makes it much easier. So yeah, I really like it. It's kind of a weird game that I wasn't expecting to like, but it's actually really enjoyable. And I wrote a tiny bit about it on my Tumblr, because I sent it to Matt and he cut most of it out for what we played last week. So I took it and put it on Tumblr instead. He was just like, yeah, and Chris, and he was like, and yeah, Chris played Game Ground.
Do you want to do a feature? Do you want it to be a feature story? It's the summer. Nothing happens. There's nothing to talk about. You
don't want like a series of me writing like 200 words on Game Ground.
I do. Actually, I do. I want microblogging on Game Ground. And I do want that stream of consciousness from your playing journey.
Oh, man. Right. No, fuck it. If you want it, I might do it then. You've said it now.
Oh, no. If only I could stop you. I'm powerless to powerless to have these things appear on CSA's front page. No.
If you don't publish it up, just put it on Tumblr where no one will read it. All right, quickly, because we're trying to keep this episode short due to editing concerns. It is question time.
Question time.
Basically, Mr. Hello's earlier, so quickly. Stuart Hattle says hello. Kevin says hello.
Hello.
Jemana says hello. And that's about it. Very quickly, Tom H. Lord says, how is MotoGP 15? I don't think any of us know, but we did talk about that thing earlier about them doing the patch. Do you know, Tef, have you been playing it?
I do. I've played it for not very long yet, but it is very similar to MotoGP 14. It is
Surprise!
very much like a reskin. Like MotoGP 14, it was an up-resed PS3 game, and they bolted a few effects and they put in higher resolution models. But you could always see like the tracks. They were very, very much like the scenery. It was just like, oh, this feels like a PS3 game. Like trees made out of sprites. It's just like, don't do that on this latest generation of hardware.
Really?
And yeah, and they've kind of done very similar things for MotoGP 15. I'm gonna dig into it over the weekend and get a review up on Monday. But I think it's, yeah, you know, it's one of those things. Sometimes there's just not a lot that happens with a yearly franchise.
And the other question we had was,
Well, Jemanas asked,
the Taken King price
Taken King,
but we've talked
much.
about that already.
Yeah.
Stuart Hattle says, what games would you like to see on PS Plus for July? What would you like to see?
I quite like a big game again. That'd be quite nice. We haven't big. I'm not counting Metal Gear Solid. That's a demo.
Yeah.
It's a big demo.
What a game I haven't got as well. So not like Bloodborne, because I've got Bloodborne.
Well, really hard putting Far Cry 3. No, was Far Cry 3 on PS4?
Far Cry 3 was on PS3.
Yeah.
They could put Black Flag on there. I don't think that's been on there.
No, I don't think it has.
And that's actually a very good Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah, do that.
Not for everyone. That'd be a really good one to see. And then I don't know, just some indie bollocks, whatever.
There's always indie stuff on there. That's too hard to predict what it's going to be. Like, and it's also just too hard to name what we would like because there's so much indie stuff out there. I guess I don't know.
Something with pixel art for Tough Cub.
Yeah,
Whoa.
loves it. What was the big Christmas game on PS4 last year? It must have been something.
Watch Dogs. I bet Watch Dogs will turn up eventually.
Yeah,
that'd be quite a good one as well.
Watch Dogs hasn't been on there. I wouldn't mind Watch Dogs if I didn't have to pay for it.
Well, there hasn't been. That's. I mean, they haven't got. We're getting to the point now where there should be big games on there. We've only had one, which was, not Mortal Kombat. What was it? The DC Universe thing.
Yeah.
That's about the only full price game which has been on for PlayStation 4.
Knack. I want Knack on there. It'd be amazing.
I'd be alright if it was Knack, actually. Like, Knack is not great.
But the complaints would be amazing.
That's true.
Everyone could complain about that. Yeah, I mean, they could start looking at some of the launch titles.
Yeah.
So it could be Need for Speed Rivals, maybe. That would be a good one for EA to get on there.
No, because they'll just put in the Vault. EA will put in the Vault. What's it? Probably.
Yeah, but I don't think that would happen because they've got another Need for Speed game coming out, and that might.
Well, half of the point of putting a game into PS Plus is that then you can start to publicize the next game, or you can get people excited for the next game.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you put Rivals on there now, 3 or 4 months before Just Need for Speed comes out, they should have called it that. Just Need for Speed.
Yeah.
Only
just Tomb Raider. Whenever it's rebooted, it should be just Game Series.
Tomb Raider would be a good one.
Just Tomb Raider.
That
could be a good one, but
that was
wouldn't
on PS3
work.
already.
Yeah, but also it wouldn't work because Rise of the Tomb Raider is an Xbox One exclusive. That's
true.
more Games for Gold territory.
I'm just looking at what we had last year. Not going to be any of those. Not going to be Spelunky. Not going to be that. Not going to be.
Spelunky's already been on there.
Well, there must have been some big PS4 thing last year, but there really wasn't.
I'm just trying to look at my pile of PS4 games, which is quite small, really.
Yeah, there really wasn't. It's surprising.
It'll probably be a Lego game.
Yeah.
If in doubt, shove a Lego game on there.
Yeah, I'm sure there was something reasonably big, because I'm sure I've got something reasonably big on my PS4. Oh, they put the infamous, the First Light. I know it's not huge, but that was reasonably big.
Oh, they put that on there.
That was on a while ago.
Yeah, that was like the first big game that they put on PS Plus. That's when they sort of said we're not going to have too many small games.
Yeah.
Anymore.
There wasn't a big release for PS4 last Christmas that I can see. Which
what
is
you
sad.
mean from Sony?
Not a big exclusive release.
I'm struggling to think as well.
Well, I'm looking through the list on Wikipedia, and it just kind of isn't. No, they could put like I don't know.
I'll be happy with Watch Dogs.
I'll be happy with Watch Dogs, or like Watch Dogs or Need for Speed. Either of those would be kind of probably good bets, I think.
Mm.
Yeah,
like they'd be good to see. Oh, they could put not brilliant, but they could put the Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition. Has that been on there yet?
It's been on the PS3 version.
If it's been on the PS3 version, I doubt they put it on for the PS4.
Well, they might do. You never know.
Yeah. I guess they can also be like, hey, but guys, Drive Club's on here now. Drive Club. Oh, I'd like to put Middle Earth on. If they put, I doubt they'll do it, but if they put Middle Earth on, that'd be pretty sweet.
Imagine if they just put the full version of Drive Club on there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hobbited out, really, with Elder Scrolls. I don't really want anything else more hobbity.
Yeah, but I'd like to play Shadow of Mordor, but I don't want to buy it, so...
Yeah, I think at this point, anything that is less than 18 months is going to be, not used for PS Plus yet.
Yeah, probably not.
But yeah, we might see some launch titles, which could be Need for Speed Rivals, or Killzone, or Knack.
Killzone they won't do, because they split that into bits, the same as they did with Uncharted, so...
Yeah.
Well, then they can put the single player on there.
Yeah, they might do that, I suppose.
Plus, I don't want that, because I've already got Killzone, so I don't want that.
They released Shadowfall as
did they do just
only.
multiplayer? I knew that they did the co-op mode, which was...
Yeah, I think they split it out. It's quite a while ago, actually.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure they did.
Anyway, that is going to wrap up the podcast. If you want to get the podcast, you can go over to TheSixthAxis.com, where we have all the episodes. You can go to iTunes. You can go to SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/TheSixthAxis. We're also now on YouTube. If you just search for the Sixth Axis podcast, or go to the link that is in the show notes. If you would like to get in touch with us, you can tweet us at TSA Podcast. You can email us at podcast@sixthaxis.com. Or you can leave a comment on the TheSixthAxis.com in the podcast post. Don't just leave it in random articles. That would be weird. If you want to get in touch personally, you can get me on Twitter Pro. You can get Tef at Teflon, and you can get Tough Cub at Tough Cub. That's TUFF Cub. But that is going to wrap this up for the slightly shorter edition this week. Hopefully,
much better without Lewis interrupting.
I do, don't I? Really.
So you just interrupt him instead. Then.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I wasn't going. Bye.
And next week is going to be a very special edition, because we are recording on my birthday. So returning for the week is Mr. Peter Chapman. He is back next week.
Hooray!
When you start recordings, are you going to get everyone to say returning?
No.
Oh.
But that is going to do it for this episode. So say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
New theme tune.
But say goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
The Sixth Axis Podcast.